born in the world will be a Nigerian. The flip side of these opportunities are the accompanying challenges. Nearly 30 million young Africans are still unemployed, and the share of young people not in employment, education, or training has hovered around 27% for 2 decades. We are literally not shifting it. The ILO warns that by 2050, Africa will need more than 70 million new jobs every year for its young people. Without urgent action, the continent risks a youth quake. And we are already starting to see some of these challenges with young people protesting on the continent, most recently in Madagascar. Now, we've heard all of these numbers before, but it remains a stark reminder that the gap between our aspirations and opportunities remains one of the most urgent issues facing our continent. Unless we act boldly, we will not realize the promise of a demographic dividend, and we will need to start preparing for a demographic crisis. Recent asset research shows that most upper middle income countries on the continent did not realize the first window of the demographic dividend. And without the right policies and programs, they could miss the second window. The choices we make today will not only shape Africa's future, but it will shape that of what has become a rapidly aging world that depends on our youth labor to continue to sustain and develop. So, why does TVET matter? It has become a critical part of our development trajectory. In a technology driven world and on a continent where sustainable industrialization must drive our transformation, TVET has the potential to equip young people with the practical market relevant skills that our economies urgently need. Across the 6 countries studied in the report, more than 600,000 learners are enrolled in TVET institutions. Now, this is a clear sign of growing demand. But while enrollment is rising, our work also shows that the challenges remain. First, financing remains far too low. In most countries, TVET receives less than 5% of the national education budget, well below the 10 to 20% that we know is needed. Secondly, the curricula of TVET institutions are often outdated and not aligned with the needs of industry or the labor market. Thirdly, digital and green skills, which are essential for the future of the jobs of the future, are barely integrated into our TVET systems. We cannot prepare our young people for the future of work without these skills. This is no longer optional, but it is urgent and must be integrated. Fourth, there are far too few teachers in TVET, and those that are there are often undertrained and they lack the tools and resources to deliver desperately needed quality training. Fifth, the private sector is not fully engaged. This means that there is a gap between what students are learning in TVET institutions and the realities of the workplace and the demand for labor from the private sector. And finally, we must not forget equity. Women and rural learners remain less likely to complete training or secure decent work, even when they have enrolled in TVET. So for us, this synthesis report is much more than a research exercise. It is a call to action. It brings together lessons from 6 diverse contexts to show what is working, where the gaps remain, and how we can move forward. So, Honourable Ministers, for policymakers, it provides you with evidence to guide your reforms and prioritize your investment at a time when we are all navigating financial crisis on the continent. For training institutions, it highlights practical steps to modernize programs and strengthen your teaching capabilities. For the private sector, it shows opportunities to co-design curricula, expand apprenticeships, and build a much stronger skills pipeline for the future. And for development partners, it highlights priority areas where your support can most be impactful. So our discussions today will build on these findings. We will ask you how we can better align TVET with Africa's industrial strategies, how we can integrate digital and green skills into every training program, and how to make TVET more inclusive so the women and other vulnerable groups can benefit equally. The roundtable and the intergenerational dialogue that will follow are designed not just to reflect, but to generate solutions. Together with our young generation, we can turn evidence into action and action into Africa's transformation. Honorable ministers and distinguished guests, I fundamentally believe that Africa's youth are ready. It is our responsibility to ensure that the systems which prepare them for work are ready too. If we succeed in building TVET systems that are inclusive, modern, and responsive to industry, we can transform Africa's demographic wave into the greatest engine of growth and prosperity that the world has ever seen. I would like to remind you all of an Akan proverb. The old woman looks after the child to grow its teeth, and the young one in turn looks after the old woman when she loses her teeth. So, we must invest in our young people today so that they have the skills, capabilities, and finance to ensure we have a society that can look after us in our old age. Once again, I'd like to say a very big thank you for all your work to date. And I look forward to a very successful and productive discussion today. Joyce, back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mavis. I love that. And as Mavis reminded us, we are facing a youth quake if we don't act now. I love the comments I'm seeing in the chat. We have people joining us from all over and even beyond Africa. It's so exciting. And I'm definitely looking forward to the dialogue. So my name is Mona Idrisu, and I will be co-hosting today's session with Joyce. So we also have interpretation in the bottom. If you look at the globe icon, for those who don't have it, if you click on the more icon, you will see it there. We have French translation available. We also have sign language available. So please kindly switch language if English doesn't work for you. Thank you. So next on the agenda, we have a keynote address from Honorable Claudette. Honorable Claudette, we are honored to have you here today. Thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to honor us in today's event. So Honorable Claudette is Rwanda's Minister of State for Education, where she leads efforts in technical vocational education and training, as well as ICT integration in learning. Honorable Claudette also serves as our Yes Pact. We've been working with her for a few years now as our champion in Rwanda. Honorable, welcome, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mona. And you're far too kind, because I don't know about my championship. But thank you very much for having me and for having Rwanda take part in this meeting. And excellencies, distinguished partners, private sector leaders, representatives of civil society, colleagues, and young Africans, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from Rwanda. It is an honor to join you today at this important gathering. I thank the African Center for Economic Transformation and the Mastercard Foundation for leading this multi-country study and for convening us to reflect on the future of technical and vocational education and training on our continent. By 2050, 1 in every 4 people in the world will be African. This demographic shift presents us with an extraordinary opportunity, but only if we equip our youth with the skills to thrive in a fast-changing global economy shaped by technology, innovation, and the green transition. TVET is central to this vision. It is the bridge between education and dignified employment, between policy ambitions and real transformation on the ground. When aligned with national and regional strategies, TVET can unlock opportunity for millions and power Africa's economic transformation. In Rwanda, we have placed skills development at the heart of our economic vision. We're strengthening industry linkages, ensuring training is demand driven and co created with employers. We're also embedding fourth industrial revolution and digital skills into curricula so our youth are prepared for emerging opportunities. We're expanding access and equity with a focus on young women, rural communities, and vulnerable groups. We're also investing in our teachers and trainers because no education can succeed without empowered educators. We recognize, however, that these efforts must be anchored in strong continental cooperation. No country can transform its skills system in isolation. That is why today's regional dialogue is very, very important. Here are my three key recommendations. One, stronger government leadership and policy alignment, because TVET cannot succeed if fragmented and underfunded. We must deepen private sector collaboration, moving beyond symbolic partnerships to genuine, systemic co creation of curricula, apprenticeships, and innovation um, initiatives. Public private partnerships must become engines for innovation, relevance, and resource mobilization in TVET. The second one is we must sustain and expand innovative financing so that budget allocations translate into modern equipment, gender sensitive infrastructure, and continuous teacher training. Strengthening labor market intelligence through skills forecasting, tracer studies, and employer feedback must also be part of this investment to ensure training priorities are aligned with real demand. Third is that we must promote equity by targeting scholarships, safe facilities, and mentorship campaigns that attract, tailoring scholarships. My apology. We must promote equity by tailoring scholarships, safe facilities, and mentorship campaigns that attract girls and young women. We really must be deliberate about this. At the same time, we must scale up both digital and green skills so that young Africans are prepared not for yesterday's jobs, but for tomorrow's opportunities. Allow me to speak from a position of personal commitment. As Rwanda's Yes Pact champion, I have seen firsthand the coalition's determination to push for greater investment in secondary and TVET education. Our goal is simple but ambitious: to modernize this system so that young people are not only prepared for today's realities, but also ready to seize the opportunities of the fourth industrial revolution. Together, we have championed increased budget allocations and are actively working to expand public private partnerships that can sustainably support TVET. Beyond advocacy, the coalition is focused on practical, actionable steps, ensuring that partnerships become real engines for resource mobilization and innovation. For me, these priorities are not optional, they're essential to guaranteeing that every young Rwandan, and indeed every young African, can step confidently into the future of work and play a leading role in our continent's transformation. Excellencies, colleagues, and partners, um, if we're serious about economic transformation, then we must be serious about TVET. Let us align our policies, scale up investments, and innovate together. Let us ensure that Africa's young people are not only job seekers, but job creators, innovators, and leaders of a prosperous continent. With that, I'm pleased to officially launch this synthesis report and open today's roundtable and dialogue. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Joyce, I think you're muted.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Honorable Herrera. Thank you for coming all the way to speak with us. And indeed, you have indicated that if we are serious about African transformation and economic transformation, then we must be serious about TVET. Thank you so much for your kind words. At this stage, if you have joined us, yes, thank you so much for your contribution. We would like to hear from you. So, of course, you can use the Q&A button And also you can continue to give us your reactions. Again, if you have not tuning into the language that you're comfortable with, please go to the icon, see it there, and then click, because we have the interpretation in French and English as well. At this point, we would like to take our keynote address from Honorable Famu Mumuni. He's all the way from Niger, one of the countries also that is represented in the report. So, Honorable, let's take it from here.
Distingués collègues, chers partenaires, mesdames et messieurs, c'est pour moi une grande fierté de me joindre à vous à l'occasion du lancement de ce rapport important sur l'enseignement et la formation technique et professionnelle. Aujourd'hui, nous plaçons les compétences au cœur de l'avenir économique de l'Afrique et de sa transformation. Sur notre continent, plus de 60% de la population a moins de 25 ans et près de 600 millions de personnes devraient être en âge de travailler d'ici 2050. Actuellement, l'Afrique compte plus de 536 millions de jeunes âgés de 15 à 35 ans. Parmi eux, un peu plus de la moitié sont employés, près de 30 millions sont au chômage, 94 millions sont totalement inactifs et plus de 120 millions poursuivent encore des études. La proportion de jeunes qui ne sont ni en emploi, ni en éducation, ni en formation reste élevée. Elle avoisine 27% au cours des 2 dernières décennies. Dans ce contexte, l'enseignement et la formation technique et professionnelle apparaît comme l'un des outils les plus importants dont nous disposons pour doter les jeunes Africains de compétences pratiques et pertinentes pour le travail. Dans les 6 pays étudiés, la Côte d'Ivoire, l'Éthiopie, le Ghana, le Niger, le Rwanda et l'Ouganda, plus de 600 000 jeunes sont actuellement inscrits dans des institutions d'enseignement et de formation technique et professionnelle. Les inscriptions se sont considérablement accrues ces dernières années, mais les défis persistent. En Éthiopie, par exemple, plus de 200 000 jeunes étaient inscrits en 2023, avec une majorité de femmes. En Côte d'Ivoire, les effectifs ont dépassé 140 000 apprenants. Au Niger, plus de 67 000 jeunes étaient inscrits en 2019, dont près de la moitié étaient des jeunes femmes. Ces chiffres reflètent des progrès, mais soulignent aussi l'urgence de veiller à ce que les compétences enseignées soient en adéquation avec les emplois disponibles et les industries de demain. Cette synthèse, qui rassemble l'expérience de 6 pays, la Côte d'Ivoire, l'Éthiopie, le Ghana, le Niger, le Rwanda et l'Ouganda, nous montre clairement là où nous progressons et là où les défis demeurent. Dans nos pays, les systèmes d'enseignement et de formation technique et professionnelle se développent, mais ils restent sous-financés, souvent mal alignés sur les stratégies industrielles et encore trop faibles dans l'implication du secteur privé. Les infrastructures sont obsolètes, les formateurs insuffisants et les perceptions sociales continuent de freiner les jeunes, en particulier les jeunes femmes. Au Niger, les constats reflètent notre réalité. Nous avons observé une croissance des inscriptions avec 47% de femmes, soit presque la moitié des apprenants. Pourtant, si la participation est encourageante, les résultats demeurent très inégaux. Les hommes représentent près de 4 diplômés sur 5, ce qui montre que beaucoup de jeunes femmes rencontrent encore des obstacles pour achever leur formation et la convertir en un emploi décent. Trop de nos diplômés dans l'ensemble peinent encore à réussir leur transition vers un emploi significatif. Les curricula restent obsolètes, les compétences numériques et vertes, essentielles pour notre avenir, sont quasiment absentes et l'engagement des employeurs dans la conception des programmes est minimal. Ce sont ces lacunes que nous devons combler de toute urgence si nous voulons permettre à nos jeunes de réaliser pleinement leur potentiel et à notre économie de bénéficier de leurs talents. La bonne nouvelle, c'est que le rapport de synthèse ne se limite pas à diagnostiquer les problèmes, il trace la voie à suivre et souligne la nécessité de sécuriser un financement durable et diversifié pour l'enseignement et la formation technique et professionnelle, aligner les curricula sur les besoins du marché du travail et de l'industrie, renforcer les partenariats publics-privés, élargir et professionnaliser le corps enseignant, intégrer les compétences numériques et vertes dans tous les programmes de formation, améliorer l'accès et l'équité pour les femmes, les apprenants en milieu rural et les groupes vulnérables. Ce ne sont pas que des idées abstraites, ce sont des mesures concrètes que le Niger s'engage à prendre. Le nouveau ministère de l'Enseignement et de la Formation technique et professionnelle au Niger œuvrera à moderniser les curricula de formation, à introduire des approches par compétences et à renforcer le développement des enseignants. Nous travaillerons également avec les acteurs du secteur privé pour co-concevoir des programmes et offrir des stages. Et nous sommes déterminés à intégrer les compétences numériques et potentiellement vertes au cœur de nos formations, car nos jeunes doivent être prêts non seulement pour les emplois d'aujourd'hui, mais aussi pour ceux de demain. Je suis particulièrement encouragé par le fait que ce lancement inclut un dialogue intergénérationnel. Trop souvent, les jeunes sont les sujets de nos discussions sans être les partenaires de la recherche de solutions. Aujourd'hui, ceux qui visent cette réalité sont présents pour partager leur expérience et leurs idées audacieuses. Leurs voix renforceront nos politiques et leur résilience, leur créativité et leur innovation alimenteront les changements que nous recherchons. Chers collègues, jamais l'Afrique n'a porté une population aussi jeune et jamais les enjeux n'ont été aussi élevés. Pour trop de jeunes, les portes d'un emploi décent restent fermées, mais pour nous tous, le potentiel de cette génération est un appel à l'action. Si nous réussissons à bâtir des systèmes d'enseignement et de formation technique et professionnelle inclusifs, modernes et adaptés aux besoins de l'industrie, nous transformerons cette vague démographique en plus grand moteur de croissance et de transformation que le continent ait jamais connu. Au nom du gouvernement du Niger, je souhaite réaffirmer notre plein engagement envers ce programme. Nous travaillerons avec nos partenaires gouvernementaux, le secteur privé, la société civile, pour transformer ces données en action et ces plans en réalisation. Ensemble, nous ferons de l'enseignement et de la formation technique et professionnelle le pont qui relie nos jeunes à un travail décent et digne, à des entreprises florissantes et à une Afrique prospère et résiliente. Allons de l'avant avec courage. Ensemble, nous pouvons transformer les compétences et opportunités en opportunités et les opportunités en prospérité partagée. Le temps de la réforme, c'est maintenant. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much. That was the Honorable Minister for TVET from Niger. And I was pleased to hear him talk about inclusivity. Later on today, we will hear from young girls in TVET. We have a certified Mason who, young girls in male-dominated field, we will hear about how they are thriving in TVET, and part of our recommendations is strongly on inclusivity because we still have significant barriers for girls in TVET on the continent. So now we're going to move into a presentation of our key findings. And I'll use this opportunity to invite you all. The report is now live on our asset website. So please go in there. Shemaine will put in the link. And then we will just spend the next 10 minutes going over the key findings. And please feel free to go into the report for some more information. Now we have Haptamu. Haptamu is joining us. He is our economist here at the Youth Employment and Skills team. He has been the lead coordinator for the 6-country study. And if Haptamu, if you can hear me, and if we can have Haptamu's slides up, we can go into the presentation. Haptamu, welcome. There we go. Right, so Haptamu, over to you.
Thank you, Mona, for your kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to share some of the key highlights from our work on TVET study in Africa. This study brings together lessons from 6 countries and point to what it will take to make TVET a real driver of economic transformation. Africa's youth population is rising fast. As mentioned by our CEO Mavis, every year 10 to 12 million young people enter the workforce, but only about 3 million formal jobs are created. According to the UN projection, by 2050, in like 25 years, 1 in 4 people on Earth will be African, and more than a third of the world's youth will be African. This is both an opportunity and a challenge. Whether it becomes a demographic dividend or a demographic burden depends on how we prepare our youth people for work. And this is exactly where TVET came in. One of the biggest challenges young people face is a mismatch between the skills they have and the skill the employers actually need. Most of the time, graduates leave schools without being job ready, while companies struggle to find workers with the right competencies. TVET has the potential to close this gap. It can equip young with market-relevant hand-on skills and prepare them not just for any work, but for productive employment. If we get it right, it can become a bridge between African demographic opportunity and real economic transformation. In our study, we looked TVET at a secondary level, formal, informal, and non-formal in 6 countries, including Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Ghana, Niger, Rwanda, and Uganda. We asked, what challenges are TVET sectors facing? What makes TVET effective? How can industry and policy actors strengthen it? And what good practice we can learn from it? To answer these questions, we conducted a systematic review and surveyed over 2,300 stakeholders across the 6 countries. These stakeholders include the students, teachers, head of TVET institutions, private sector representatives, government officials, regulators, even parents and civic societies and development partners were included. Our results show that the first challenge is finance. Too many TVET systems are under-resourced. This leads to outdated equipment, teacher shortage, and poor graduates' outcome. For example, Ghana spends less than 2% of its education budget on TVET. Similarly, in Rwanda, more than 90% of students say that they train on obsolete equipment. In Ethiopia, over 60% of institutions lack qualified instructors or teachers. Without adequate funding or finance, TVET cannot deliver the skills we need. Let me show you the financing data for the study countries. So as I mentioned it earlier, only a small share of the education budget is allocated to TVET, far below the recommended or the required target. Specifically, Niger and Cote d'Ivoire allocates about 8% of the education budget to TVET, Rwanda 7%, Ethiopia 5%, Uganda 4%, and Ghana even less, just 2%. These figures highlight a consistent pattern of underinvestment across countries, despite the urgent needs to skill up skill development to address youth unemployment and meet the labor market requirement or the labor market demand. The second challenge is the second most important challenge is the future of work. Evidence from across countries shows that firms are increasingly citing digital literacy gap as a hiring constraint. At the same time, integration of green skills into training program remains very limited. Governments are moving ahead with renewable energy and electric vehicle. For example, Ethiopia, Ghana, and Rwanda already provide tax incentive for electric car or EV car importers. But training systems has not yet caught up. This means curriculums must begin to include both digital, AI, and green skills. There are some positive examples in our region. Rwanda and Ghana are embedding ICT into their program, but many countries still lag far behind in these areas. So one may question whether there is a demand for graduates with green skill or not. When we look at this, the extent of demand for graduates with green skills, the evidence is clear. Demand is real. More than 60% of stakeholders we surveyed highlight a moderate to very high demand for graduates with green skill. Take an example of Ghana. Our survey found that 65% of stakeholders responds moderate to very high demand. In Niger, the figure is even higher, at 73%. Yes, despite the strong demand, TVET systems are still not preparing young people for this kind of jobs. TVET also needs to be inclusive. In Ghana, for instance, women make less than 30% of enrollment, and most are concentrated in low-paying tradings, such as hairdressing or tailoring. Niger has tried to respond through its school-to-work transition program for girls, which targets 60% of female informal youth, but the program lacks adequate delivery capacity. Across our countries, the main barriers to enrollment for women and disabled individuals include safety concern, lack of housing, and limited disability access. There are some promising steps, of course. Rwanda and Uganda has introduced gender-focused scholarships, but the gaps remain wide. Good TVET system uses data to match training with jobs. It is crucial to establish labor market information system, or LMIS, conduct tracer studies, and carry out skill surveys so the training reflects real demand from the private sector and government demands. Rwanda is a good example. It has a functioning LMIS, or labor market information system. They conduct tracer studies and has a strong employer feedback loop. Unfortunately, in most other countries, these mechanisms are missing, and that's why skill mismatch persists. Another reality is that most young people learn from informally through apprenticeship or internship. But the problem is the skills often go unrecognized. Some countries are taking steps forward. For example, Cote d'Ivoire, Rwanda, and Uganda are piloting recognition of prior learning, or RPL. In Ethiopia and Ghana, efforts exist but remains weak, while in Niger, it's completely absent. If we scale up, certification of informal skills could boost young people's wage by as much as 20%. This is a huge opportunity that we cannot afford to miss. When TVET work with industry or private sector, results improve dramatically. For example, in Ghana, nearly 70% of TVET graduates are employed, many through strong business linkage. In Uganda, dual training schemes see employment rates above 75% compared to less than 50% in conventional tracks. In Ethiopia, partnerships in textile and leather has boosted graduates' observation. In Cote d'Ivoire, public-private partnership, or PPP, in agribusiness have boosted graduates' employability, with 60% placed within 6 months. Now, so what is the takeaway? TVET can be a powerful engine for African economic transformation, but only if TVET systems are properly financed, future-oriented, inclusive, data-driven, and connected to industries or the private sector. These reforms are not optional. They are essential if we want to turn African youth bulge into a demographic dividend rather than a demographic burden. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Matu. So, of course, the issues are here. The issues are clear, but also we understand that the demand is there. With a little of between 2 to 8% of the budget of education going to TVET, obviously we realize that there's a need for us to do more. But the story doesn't end there. There are successes that women continually are getting the chance to join the TVET space, which is helping to ensure that Africa has a space for employment for its people. In the report, we heard that there's a need to finance our future. There's a need to ensure that we have inclusivity. And above all, the need to ensure that we have the tools that are needed to ensure that our people have the jobs, because we do have the people. Now we have heard the report, but again, we've highlighted a video for you that is going to show the state of technical and vocational education training in Africa. Yes, you have heard about the challenges, but there are equally wonderful stories that we want you to highlight. Again, after here, we go right into the high-level panel discussion. And after that, we have the intergenerational dialogue, which will show you what is possible when we put all the challenges to the table and bring in the solution that we so need. So with the technical team ready, let's see what the real examples are from Ghana, from Rwanda, from also Uganda, at what we can do with TVET when it is rightly financed with the right people at place. Let's go.
Right. I think, Joyce, let us go into the high-level panel because I think we are having a bit of a technical hitch. So we will bring the video back after our high-level panel. We also have some questions in the chat, so I will invite all our viewers to please interact in the chat and let us know what you think. And for the young people here, let us hear what your experience has been in the TVET sector in your respective countries. So please feel free to let us know in the chat. Great. So we're moving into our panel session, our first panel session for today. We have some very distinguished panelists with us today, and I would like to thank them all for joining us, for taking the time to join us for this panel. Right. So first we have Unami Dube, who is the senior development, she's a senior development practitioner with over 20 years experience in international development. She's currently working with the African Union Development Agency, or the NEPAD, who she's in charge of human capital and institutional development under the directorate, and she has done significant work when it comes to aligning skills strategy and coordinating the skills initiative for Africa. Welcome, Unami. Next, we also have the Deputy Director for Ghana Technical and Vocational Education and Training Service, GTVET, Madam Afi Agbenyo. Madam Afi is overseeing operational and management implementation of TVET programs across the country, and in her role, she supports the development of systems and initiatives to strengthen skills training. Thank you. Welcome, Madam Afi. Next, we also have Amadou Sak.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you.
Great. Amadou is the advisor for Africa at the International Organization of Employers. As you know, we've been talking about private sector, and it's important to have the private sector lens in our conversations. He supports African employer organizations on labor and employment issues, represents their priorities at the ILO and other multilateral platforms. Amadou, if you can hear me, welcome and thank you once again for taking the time to join us today. And finally, we have Azmera Abebe. Azmera is the advisor to the State Minister at the Ministry of Labor and Skills in Ethiopia. Mr. Azmera, if you can hear me, welcome to today's event, and we are highly honored to have you joining us today. Do I have Azmera here? Mr. Azmera, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So welcome to our panelists, and to our viewers, feel free to pop in your questions using the Q&A if you do have any questions for any of our panelists as we start today's discussion. So let me start with you, Mr. Azmera. We've heard that Ethiopia is doing quite a lot in the TVET space, currently investing nearly 10% of your education budget in TVET. Yet these challenges remain. So from your vantage point as an advisor, what are the barriers that undermine sustainability in terms of financing, and which of your current reforms could serve as models for other African countries?
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests. Really, it is a pleasure to participate in this important dialogue on rethinking TVET for the Africa economic transformation, reflecting our commitment to skill development for inclusive growth. As you said, even though we are introduced Ethiopian outcome-based TVET system before 17 years, still we are working good, of course. We have many achievements. But as you said, we have a financial challenge. You know, fortunately, now on the October 23, we'll relaunch a renewed TVET strategy, which can have alternative solution for the issue of finance. You know, previously our strategy only focused on government treasury, but currently now we are looking multiple source of finance, like our TVET college should able to generate revenue. You know, they are looking to have enterprise license to have a business. It can be focusing on import substitution or any other challenge or any other market failure. So that will be another one important reform what we took. And another important issue, now we are looking to skill levy. Private sector should contribute for the TVET training, because since the output of the TVET is important for the competency of the private sector, they should be part of finance support. And another important issue now, even tomorrow we'll have, we are invited more than 50 development partners to bring one platform to generate resource to support the Ethiopian TVET. And even we are looking to remobilize resources from the community. You know, our trainees are expected to share a cost, but most of the time, since the TVET supports the local area, community should contribute for the quality of the training. And you know, really, it is a good news for Africans today. The World Bank deputy director was visiting one of our college, which is found far from 275 in Hawassa. We are establishing a learning factory with the support of partners. You know, that factory can be served as a source of finance. At the same time, it can be also used as a practical training, industry-based training. So by using multiple dimension solution, really we can mitigate the challenge of finance. Of course, still we are insisting to improve the government commitment to give attention for the TVET. You know, annually we provide training for more than 500,000 students, regular training, more than 3 million trainees with short-term training. And as the report presented, just last year we are starting the RPL, Recognition of Priority Learning. We certified more than 100,000 industry practitioners. So really, with many alternative solutions, we can provide competent labor force to being competent in the local market as well as the world market. This is what I would like to say related with financial source.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Azmera. You touched on a point using an example of how a factory can also generate or using internally generated funds and collaborating with private sector in raising finances. I would like to come to Amadou from the private sector perspective. Amadou, how can employers act as true partners in TVET? Particularly through investing in financing or even co-designing curriculums or shaping governance. But how do we ensure this true partnership is happening in the TVET space?
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, it's really a pleasure for me to join today this important dialogue on rethinking TVET and training, and I speak on behalf of the International Organization of Employers, representing more than 150 national business federations. Hello?
Can we make sure mics are muted, please, so that we can hear our speaker? Thank you. Apologies for that. Okay, you can come in. Sorry, Amadou, you're now muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you, and apologies.
Yeah, no problem. So the IOE's and its members' missions as business representatives is really to advocate for enabling business environment, productive employment, and to ensure that enterprises remain the driver of sustainable development. And at the heart of that mission is a simple and powerful conviction, is that skills are the foundation of competitiveness. An employer must be recognized as a true partner in building them. So across the continent and beyond, a training system too often fail to keep pace with the rapidly changing demands of the labor market. And the many challenges have been raised by previous speakers. So digitalization, decarbonization, and demographic change, they're all reshaping the nature of work and the competencies that are required to perform. And indeed, to respond effectively, we need TVET systems that are demand-driven, future-oriented, and designed indeed in close partnership with the private sector. So from the employer's perspective, this partnership must be unfold. It must unfold across three essential dimensions. Financing, that has been mentioned by the Honorable Minister, co-designing also, and governance. So first, quickly on financing, the private sector, so has both the incentive and the capacity to invest in skills development, but investment flows where frameworks are predictable, incentives are aligned, and responsibilities are shared. So joint funding schemes, levy systems, as it has been mentioned, co-managed by employers, and targeted tax incentives are powerful tools to mobilize private sector resources. We have good example in South Africa with the South Africa's sector education and training authorities, funded through a payroll levy and co-governed by employers. They direct resources into sector-specific training programs. The second point, co-designing curricula. And so one of the most significant gaps in many TVET systems is the disconnect between the training content and labor market realities. Employers possess real-time intelligence on emerging technology, evolving value chain, and future competencies. So embedding that intelligence into curriculum design ensures that training is relevant, future-proof, and directly aligned with enterprises' demand. And this approach is fully aligned with the ILO recommendation 208 on skills for the future of work, adopted a few years ago. So it calls for skill strategies to be co-created with employers anchored in forward-looking labor market intelligence. And finally, to earn governance. So training systems that limit employers to consultative roles, they often fail to deliver. Those that integrate employers into decision-making bodies, from National Skills Council to accreditation boards, achieve stronger outcome. And Mauritius is a good example with their Human Resource Development Council, where employers and government jointly set national skills priorities, allocate fundings, and monitor results. In Germany and Switzerland also, to look at the global level, employer representative, they play leading role in training councils and apprenticeship board, embedding market intelligence directly into national skill strategies. Thank you.
Great. Amadou, thank you so much for the concrete examples you have given us around private sector collaborations and the examples you've drawn from the continent and beyond. Now let me come to Madam Afi. I know some of the challenges we mentioned today, they apply in the Ghanaian context as well. And I know there's been significant reforms recently, even with the establishment of the Ghana TVET service. So in your experience, what lessons from your recent work on formalizing the informal sector, because this is a strong recommendations from our report around how we're working closely with the informal sector. So what are some of the examples or lessons you can share from that sector and the work you're doing at the Ghana TVET service?
Great. Thank you very much, Mona, and thank you to everyone who joined the call. The conversation on the informal sector is wider, and when we have the conversation on formalizing the informal sector, I think that sometimes it puts the challenges into some sort of a narrow perspective. Reason is that there are various reasons why the structures that exist in the informal sector sometimes are unable to align with the governance structures with, for example, the so-called formal system. So I'll give a few examples, but backtrack into the reforms that has happened. So prior to the Ghana TVET service, there are various agencies and ministries that manages some sort of TVET training in their various agencies. So all these trainings that were happening had different standards. And as you mentioned, the reform also meant that we needed to put some form of national standards into the governance structure. So the Ministry of Education currently oversees all TVET institutions and all technical vocational education and training activities with two major agencies, which is the Ghana TVET service where I work, and our sister agency, which is the regulator, that is the Commission for TVET. The Commission for TVET regulates the ecosystem and also provides some form of support services to the ecosystem. And then the Ghana TVET service manages the delivery of these policies that the Commission then formulates. Now, the real work of implementing these policies, as you have mentioned, includes the task of training in the informal sector. Training in the informal sector was also a little scattered, even though the informal sector had their own structures. And that's also one thing that I really always want to reiterate, that the informal system in Ghana was not very fragmented or scattered as it was perceived. So there are regional sectors, there are zonal sectors, you find them through to the national systems. And so you're able to track everybody as much as possible who is within some form of a trade association. And so what happens is that the service works with the trade associations to be able to put the form of structure that is required in there, which then includes that in the informal sector, if certification is given, it could be given at the proficiency level. So you're able to study and gain some form of certification at the proficiency level. If you're in the formal, what we call the formal education, then you're also able to get some form of a certification. And the second cycle that is in the Certificate 2 on our current national qualification framework. And this qualification framework opens up the path of progression for learners through up to a PhD. So if you're in the TVET system, you are not, your education progression is not truncated as it was before. So the qualification framework supports the progressive path for our learners. The flexibility that this provides is also that learners are able to transition to work at any point in time and then are able to come back to the world of education at any point in time that they would like to progress. So we work all very hand in hand with the leadership of the informal sector, which, as I mentioned, is also quite structured to be able to work within the space and provide formal certification to persons who are getting some form of training there. There was a mention of recognition of prior learning, and this, as you have mentioned, also is in Ghana. While it is yet to have a nationwide rollout, there are some agencies in the ecosystem that are piloting the recognition of prior learning. What that offers is that you're in the informal sector over a long period of time and you would like to take some form of formal education, you are able to go to get assessed so that your learnings are able to be certified, and it helps you to be able to know where you can start your formal education. So that also supports those that work within the informal sector. An important reform that has happened is the workplace experience learning. Over the past years, workplace experience learning has been, unfortunately, what happens for learners when they are on vacation. So it was more like a vacation activity. But we consider workplace experience learning as a component of educational training for our learners. So the curriculum is functioned such that a portion of it is delivered in the school setup and a portion of it is also delivered in the industry. What that means is that our current curriculum, as we have for the 2025-2026 academic year, gives a way for our learners in school time to be able to have some training happening in the industry. And they go with learning outcomes that are expected to be achieved. And the industry is expected to support them to be able to get these learning outcomes achieved. So that's one of the reforms that happened. Where the informal sector comes in is that we don't have large industries. So if I could end with this, is that we have some so-called informal sector partners who have the space to be able to support training. And so we're able to find the ways in which criteria supports the participation of our informal sector in the workplace experience learning, for example. I guess with time, as you're prompting me, I'd like to end here. And these are some of the reforms in the informal sector. But really, it is working together with the informal sector to be able to deliver quality training for our learners.
Great, thank you, Madam Afi, and it's good to hear some of the steps you're taking at the Ghana TVET service to enhance that collaboration, and we hope to see the widespread implementation of some of the initiatives such as the recognition of prior learning. And later in the next panel, we'll hear from a young person in the informal sector who's training in the informal sector to share what their experience is like being a TVET student in the informal sector. Madam Unami, good to have you here. Now, in your role, from your perspective from the Outer NEPAD, what is the biggest challenge in moving from these country-level pilots we're hearing? Because we've had a lot of country-level initiatives that is happening. How do we really aggregate to get this continent-wide impact? And what support can the Outer NEPAD provide to governments to scale these good practices on a regional level?
Thank you very much, Mona, and good afternoon, colleagues. With much appreciation to Madam Mavis Jimfe for this invitation, and as well just recognizing honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to join you today with just one small correction, Mona. I'm a senior program officer at the AUD NEPAD. I led CIFA for 6 years, and I'm currently assigned to World Skills Africa. Just before I come to your question, I just want to dwell on the mandate of AUD NEPAD and why we're excited to be joining you on this conversation as you launch this report. One of the gaps that we have always identified within the TVET partners is the lack of research on TVET and its impact on driving socioeconomic change. So this report is really timely as the African Union recently launched its continental TVET strategy, which is set to set the tone for 2025 to 2034. As the AUDA NEPAD, our mandate is implementation support to the countries. And this really looks at how do we translate such policy frameworks into technical programming, design, and advisory services to the member states. So when you ask the question, what needs to happen, I'm listening to to Amadou, I'm listening to Madame Afi, and I'm saying change is happening at the coalface, where TVET institutions, where the informal sector organizations have to find expression. And it's when we can tap into these best practices. It's when we can sit back and say, okay, I'm hearing the employers are saying they're looking for incentives. I'm hearing them talk about the South African CETAs, but how has South Africa actually made it happen? How can that be contextualized in a Kenya, in a Ghana, in an Ethiopia, in a Rwanda? What are those tools? And so the role of the African Union Development Agency in terms of translating the continental TVET strategy is one, identifying where are these innovations, these programs that have actually worked, what have been the enablers, and then understanding what is the tool that can be made available as a guideline to support member states. I was particularly keen when Amadou was speaking, because there was one instance we were, I'll just mention the country, not the project, in Kenya, where the TVET said, yes, we hear you that for us to access this grant funding, we need to partner with the private sector. Where do we find them? It's simple things like that in terms of how do you point people to what is working? What are the key enabling factors? Because the continental TVET strategy is about a systems change. It's how do we connect to the partners? How do we create collaborative culture? How do we ensure that there is policy alignment? How do we ensure that our TVETs are responsive? But we have to do this within a system. So as the AUD and NEPAD, we have what is called the Africa Skills Portal for Youth Entrepreneurship and Employment, where we like to call it hunt and gather for best practices from across the continent in terms of some of these enabling factors that unlock the system that we then document in terms of telling the story, but we also unpack tools that can then be used by the member states, by the stakeholders. And importantly, I have to mention here that we can, on one hand, identify the best practices, but we also have to have strong coordination with the development partners and actors alike, including yourself, such as ASSET, so that we can identify where those hotspots are for scaling up and for identifying future projects that can be put in place to support the member states. So in short, Madam, I think the continental TVET strategy is really aimed at how do we guide the member states who are drivers of their own change, but also how do we create these collaborative partnerships, platforms, dialogue for sharing and exchange to ensure that there's alignment and coordination in the work that is being done to support the member states.
Fantastic, Unami. Thank you so much. And actually, one of the key areas we cover in this report is around coordination mechanisms for TVET. So again, reminding listeners that you can go into our website, access the report to see our findings on all of these key areas that we have touched on in this dialogue. Now, I've just been prompted that I'm running late on time, so I will give each of my speakers 1 minute, one key message that you want every listener to leave here with. And I will start with Madam Afi. Madam Afi, in 1 minute or less, let me know what your key message would be.
Well, my key message would be partnership, truly. And I think that's partnership across the agencies in countries. For example, partnership when it comes to Ghana with the Ghana TVET service, the CTVET, the technical universities, but then also broader partnership between private sector and government agencies that provide training. And the reason is that if we're looking at delivering quality TVETs that is also providing skills ready learners that have skills that are ready and relevant to the job market. It will mean that they would have to be in the industries to be learning on the day to day. You mentioned how curriculum are almost outdated in the next minute. But if it has to be relevant to the job market, then partnership for training, very essential. Partnership for infrastructure building. I think that we also overlook sometimes a real task. We mentioned the issue on budget allocation. TVET is expensive. Training in this space is really expensive. Consumables, infrastructure, really having to change equipment so that they are relevant to the job markets to help learners to deliver is expensive. And so it is important to look at that kind of partnership where private sector even supports training institutions with the relevant tools, equipment. And this is also something I would like to see the kind of partnership that we should look at. Persons who are in industry offering time to be in the schools to support training. Thank you, Mona.
Thank you, Afi. So her key message is partnerships. Amadou. Key message in a minute. You're muted.
The key message in a minute, so I'll try to be short and go straight to the point, Mona, is that when employers are involved, TVET works. So TVET is no longer, it cannot also, there's also a need for a cultural change. It can no longer be seen as a second pathway. It has to be recognized as a powerful engine of economic transformation with employers at the heart of designing, financing, and all the other dynamics that are necessary. Short. Thank you.
Thank you, Sako. I appreciate the key message around bring employers at the heart of TVET. Mr. Azmera, if you are with us, can we have your key message? You do have your video off. Great. All right. There we go.
Thank you very much. Key message, TVET digitalization. Really, it is critically important currently in our case. Just, in order to alleviate the challenge of quality, relevance, access, and equity, digitalization is critically important. Even we can capable our trainers if you enable the environment for digital, if they are access the infrastructure, if they are capable, even they can competent to be provide required workforce for the industry. So digitalized TVET is critically important. Even our government are looking to digitalize our TVET for the coming 5 years. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. So digitalize TVET. Unami, you have the final minute.
Thank you so much. And here to my colleagues, I think we have the continental TVET strategy. It's large, it's ambitious, but let's work together towards practical, actionable steps, and that importantly align and are responsive to, yes, the industry, but also to the growth opportunities, and stop TVET being a conveyor belt of just producing young people, but without future job prospects. So how do we really work towards aligning to the labor markets, to technology, and to climate change? Let's align, let's work together. Thank you.
Great. And Unami finishes us off for this panel with a key message around let us unite around TVET for economic transformation. Fantastic. Thank you so much to my panelists and to our listeners. Thank you for sticking with us. We do have another exciting panel coming up in the second half, which you will get to hear firsthand accounts from our young people in the TVET space. So do not leave yet. We will transition to the video if we have that now, just to remind our viewers our key messages from the report before we go into our second panel. If we have the video, okay, fantastic. And whilst we wait for the video, just a reminder that you can pop in your comments in the chat. I'm already seeing some very exciting comments in there and some practical examples. I really like the point about using influencers to change the perception around TVET in the comments here. And I really like that because I think that with our younger generation, we have to think innovatively around how we spread the message around TVET. So looking at using influencers to propagate the message on equipping our TVET system and to change the perception around TVET being the second best option. We don't have the option again, now is integral. Now, Joyce, I'm going to bring you in so you can take us into our second panel. I myself am excited, Joyce, so take us.
I am too.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mona, and thank you to the panelists who did such a fantastic job to the question. And we have heard a lot about partnership. And of course, when we are talking about partnership, we cannot leave out the youth or the people who are themselves taking us into the action of where the discussion is going, which is TVET is an integral part of the economic transformation of Africa. Before, however, we get into that wonderful discussion, we have a short survey. And please look into the chat box. I'm just going to give just about a minute or two. Kindly go into the chat box. We have a survey in there. We want to understand the sentiment, what you feel, what should be done, and also get you involved. So kindly check in the chat box. You will see the link in there. Click it, and we will just give you just about 1 minute for you to take the survey. And then I would invite my panelists to join us. As you do so, we equally want to remind you that we would love to hear from you. There is a Q&A session that you can put in your questions and we'll get back to you. Aside that also, you can change the language because we are translating in English and French as well. And the next panel will have a French speaker. So you can go into the icon around your on your screen and then you can change the language. We equally have sign language interpretation. So there's a survey up. My technical team. Yes, I believe so that the survey is up. So kindly click in there and then it will take you to the survey and you can share with us your sentiment. Once again, thank you very much for joining the Rethinking TVET for Africa's Economic Transformation. It has been, or we are having a policy roundtable, and very shortly we shall be having an intergenerational panel discussion. Now I can see that the survey is up, so just fill in. Great. All right, good. So as we do so, I would like to quickly introduce my panel, and this is going to be exciting. We have 3 youth, and these 3 youth are coming all the way from Rwanda, from Cote d'Ivoire, from Zambia, and then of course we have a policy maker, and he is from Niger. So let's start from the top, and we're going to have an honest conversation. Kindly keep your comments coming because we would like to read them. All right, also first on my panel to join me to discuss transforming TVET, youth, policy, and private sector in action is Dr. Adamu Magagi Kwesi, who is a certified expert in higher education, quality management in technical and vocational education and training. He is the Director of Studies and Partnership, African Institute of Technology, and he's coming all the way from Niger. He is very passionate about academics, and he is also an author. So say, Dr. Adamu, if you are here, we are welcome very much, and shortly we shall hear from you. Next on the list, coming from Rwanda, is Emmanuel Tuyizere, and he is a Rwandan entrepreneur, and he's a founder of Green Analytic Motors, a clean tech startup. And so we are looking at mobility and air quality. He is developing the vehicle pollution monitoring system. When we spoke about certification here early on, and he is certified and has a diploma, an A1 diploma from IPRC, and also an AO in mechanical engineering, all the way from Kigali. Emmanuel, you're welcome, and very soon we shall hear from you.
Thank
Then
you.
this morning and this afternoon, thank you, we have heard a lot about inclusivity. And so here we have a certified mason who is a lady. This is Kojo Ajwa Elizabeth, and she's a certified in masonry. She's very certified in masonry, and she's currently enrolled at the Lycée Technique et Professionnel de San Pedro. She's pursuing a program, and she's also very passionate about technical skills and professionalism. So Elizabeth, you're so very welcome. And her specialization is in construction. Really, when we talk about diversity, you're an example. So Elizabeth, bienvenue. All right, now from Zambia is a founder, and again, she's a lady, the founder of Ivenka Technologies. Retiana Piri is a biomedical engineering technology, industrial engineering student, innovator, and also a founder. She's very passionate about empowering young people like herself, especially those living with disabilities. So obviously, you can see that it's going to be a powerful conversation. In the next 40 minutes, we are looking at transforming TVET, the youth, and we are all here. The policy maker is right here, who is also going to delve into private sector in action. So I would like to start off very quickly with Emmanuel and Ritiana. So Ritiana, you can start first. And the question is that you have turned your TVET training into innovation, and Emmanuel is coming from clean tech, and you are coming from biomedical solutions. What then have been the biggest challenges and barriers, and what have you been able to do despite these challenges? So Ritiana, we go with you first, very quickly.
Okay. So thank you so much. As an innovator in the engineering space, first of all, I'm female, and so this space is mostly male dominated. And even the skill sets and how the skill set is handled and displayed is male related. And so my biggest barrier, firstly, one of my biggest barriers was in relation to talent development and skills development in the space. And the second one is access to spaces where I can actually innovate, moving my skill sets into something that's very tangible. And the other challenge that I had is in relation to the gap that is there in the innovation ecosystem between financing, access to finance, access to spaces, access to regulators, access to the markets, and even access to knowledge itself. Those are the barriers that I faced. And despite all that, how did I navigate those? I understood that for my innovation to get to a certain level, especially from me in Southern Africa, it's important that I gain skill to actually work on my innovation, of which I had to identify what specific skills were needed for my innovation to be actualized. And I had to learn those and perfect those to actually work on tangible products or prototypes for my innovations. And in relation to financing, I took an active role to identify who finances what and at what stage do they finance, and which sector do they finance, and which region are they focused on in terms of financing. And it got me to also understand especially for me in the medical device space, East Africa is very hungry for medical related solutions, especially in terms of funding. And so that's how I was able to navigate that region. Then in terms of the connection between the investment side, the regulatory side, and all the other regions, I had to find one single way for me to get access to all of them, of which currently I've noticed innovation hubs are now bridging the differences between the differences in all those key stakeholders in the innovation ecosystem. And so I had to affiliate and align myself with innovation hubs, and just for me to get access to those particular key players.
Powerful. It means that you found what the issue is, what the challenge is, which is why this conversation is very important. And you were able to also go ahead to look for the solutions. And one thing that you said, look who is giving what. Thank you very much. Emmanuel, the same questions goes to you. What were the issues and how were you able to overcome those issues?
So thank you so much. So for me, I joined the TVET back in 2016 with just a simple dream of becoming a driver. But when I get to the schools, my dream became wide. I began to understand how the vehicle works, how the engine produces smokes, and as well as the technology to solve the problems. Uh, and from there, I started to find the solution to the problem of vehicle emissions. Um, the vehicle pollution monitoring system is a device that detects harmful gases from the vehicles and help reduce vehicle emission. Was the first innovations I worked on while I was still in the schools, TVET schools. As you mentioned on my CV, I learned in TVET school from secondary until I completed my bachelor degree in automobile technology. And later, I also make electric tricycles to help the farmers transport their harvest easily and affordably without using the fuel. So my journey of innovation started inside the TVET classroom. So with the simple tools, limited resource, but with the strong desire to make the difference. Yeah, of course, the path was not easy. I faced several challenges, but the main one was the limited resources. You know, at school, there is the limited raw materials and also as well as the machinery. As we are building the product which is ready for the market, there was limited equipment. The second challenge was low perception. Many people in the society used to think that TVETs are for those one who failed elsewhere, not the person who can really be entrepreneurs or do some things which is really needed to the community. Another one was the communication barriers. As technical person, I was not really ready or prepared to communicate what I think or what I'm doing so that the pupil can understand my vision. So despite those challenges, what kept me going was purpose and passion. That I must find the solution to the problem I was looking. And also there was a strong backup by the governments and also other program which was organized by the TVET institutions here in Rwanda. Like there were a program called the TVET Youth Challenge, where the innovators bring their ideas and also they got the funding for development of their innovations. And another one was the National Council for Science and Technology, where they support those innovations from ideation to the development. So those are the some things which helped me from moving from just ideation to making the solution which is already in use nowadays. And most of our solution. We have got different certification, and we also have the partnership either at national and international level, as well as recognition. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. So indeed, and there is a comment here for you that you are amazing from just being wanting to be a driver and now you're an engineer. Thank you very much. It means that as African youth, yeah, the problem is there, but once we are able to find the problems, there's also the need to seek for the solutions. Thank you for this, and we hope that you become role models for others who are listening and on the call. So Elizabeth, Elizabeth, are you there? And Elizabeth will be speaking in French. So hopefully you have perfect. You have chosen the English language, and you would hear from here. So Elizabeth, very quickly, women remain underrepresented. And you realize that on this call, however, we do have 2 women and 2 men. But it is wonderful to see that you are a Mason and you are a woman. What has been the stigma and how were you able to work around it? Or if you're still working around it, how are you working around this? Hi, Elizabeth. Okay. Okay, good, Elizabeth. Let's go. All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. I think we are having issues with listening to Elizabeth. And so I am going to move. I'm going to move quickly. And Elizabeth, all right. So, hi, Elizabeth. I can see that you're having challenges with your network. So, okay, great. Good afternoon.
Bonjour, madame.
Bonjour, Elizabeth. Oof. All right. So for the sake of time, Elizabeth, take your time to fix your network and I shall be right back. Dr. Adamu, we have heard from the 2 young people, and also from the conversation, we have realized that indeed, there are issues that need to be fixed. From your point of view as an institution, what do you see as the common barriers that young people are having, especially girls and marginalized people? And Ritiana told us about having access to spaces. How, from where you are sitting, how can our people fully and the youth fully benefit from TVET? And how are institutions like yours in Niger helping address this? So, Doctor, I believe that you're mute, so you can quickly unmute yourself, right?
Bonjour. Oh, bonjour. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Bonjour, le Centre africain de transformation économique. Bonjour, chers collègues. Effectivement, nous venons d'écouter les jeunes qui ont intervenu, les diplômés, les sortants de l'FPT. Mais il faut reconnaître qu'au niveau des institutions de formation professionnelle, et ça reste un défi. L'insertion professionnelle reste un défi. Et l'employabilité des jeunes reste un défi. Effectivement, on peut retenir comme défis, environ 5 défis essentiels, majeurs que je constate et auxquels les centres sont confrontés. Il y a un problème de qualification professionnelle, il y a un problème d'accréditation des certifications des diplômés, il y a un problème d'insertion professionnelle que vous venez de poser au niveau avec les jeunes. Il y a un problème de partenariat entre les acteurs, entre les différents acteurs. Et ce problème, et si vous le permettez, au niveau de chaque défi, je peux quand même vous donner quelques indications. Si vous prenez, il y a une disparité de la gestion réelle de contrôle de l'efficacité de ces formations-là. Donc, du coup, il y a des lacunes qui jouent sur la capacité des jeunes à trouver un emploi ou créer leur propre. Donc, nous pouvons aussi retenir au-delà des gouvernances. Donc, du coup, il faut voir, il y a le manque de coordination institutionnelle au niveau du pays, où les formations ou les centres de formation sont dispersés dans plusieurs ministères sectoriels. Au niveau du deuxième défi, nous avons la qualité de formation, c'est-à-dire il y a une inadéquation entre la technique, sont peu alignés avec les compétences demandées. Sinon, il y a... il faut noter aussi, à cela s'ajoute les problèmes des infrastructures ou des équipements qui sont souvent obsolètes ou inadaptés. Des ateliers de formation qui sont insuffisamment équipés, ce qui pose énormément de problèmes d'apprentissage pointu et souvent des matériels non conformes ou des difficultés de maintenir ou de renouveler ce matériel-là. Il faut noter aussi des formateurs, l'insuffisance des formateurs qualifiés ou non qualifiés. Et souvent, il y a le problème de manque de renforcement des capacités de ces formateurs qui pose problème. Il y a une insuffisance des compétences pédagogiques ou techniques actuelles. Et donc, du coup, ça cause énormément de problèmes d'apprentissage. Il faut noter aussi qu'au niveau toujours du point des défis, il faut noter la capacité d'accueil et de maintien des apprenants. Donc,
Okay.
les maintenir dans la formation.
Hi, I want to
les apprenants très
answer. I want to ask you, can you hear me very clearly?
Je n'entends même pas ce que tu dis.
Joyce, we can hear you
Oui.
very clearly.
Je peux continuer?
Yeah, please. Yes.
Je peux continuer. Donc, au niveau du troisième défi majeur, c'est que j'ai parlé de l'accréditation. Et il faut retenir qu'il y a une absence ou une mise en œuvre partielle des standards nationaux de formation, bien qu'il y ait des efforts au niveau des normes et des standards de l'FPT, leur adoption reste un peu complexe. Donc, au niveau du quatrième défi, c'est de ça que ces jeunes-là ont parlé, c'est l'insertion professionnelle et employabilité. Donc, il faut noter effectivement qu'il y a un chômage élevé des jeunes où on constate des sous-emplois souvent. Même après la formation, beaucoup de jeunes ne trouvent pas de travail adapté, en particulier dans les zones rurales ou bien pour les filles. Et donc, le secteur informel prédomine. Ce matin, nous avons écouté beaucoup de gens qui ont parlé de ce secteur-là et qui nécessitent de le cadrer pour l'amener à se formaliser. Il y a une insuffisance de stages professionnels et de qualification. L'apprentissage ou l'expérience pratique se détermine par ces stages-là. Les formateurs sont souvent trop théoriques, comme je l'ai dit en haut, avec peu de liens concrets avec les entreprises, quand les formateurs eux-mêmes n'ont pas de relations avec les entreprises, ça cause problème parce que ça crée un décalage dans les compétences attendues. Il y a une faible participation d'orientation professionnelle d'information sur le métier. Les jeunes ont peu ou carrément n'ont même pas d'informations sur les métiers ou bien les informations sur le métier pour pouvoir faire une véritable orientation professionnelle. Les jeunes ne connaissent pas toujours, comme je l'ai dit, les filières porteurs ni les métiers en demande. Les conseils d'orientation ne sont pas développés dans nos centres de formation. et ce qui cause également des problèmes, un écart régional d'accès et d'opportunités. Et il faut reconnaître aussi que dans nos pays, particulièrement au Niger, les zones rurales qui sont éloignées ont moins d'accès à des centres bien équipés, manque de transport, de logement et affectent l'égalité. Donc, du coup, on a une inégalité de répartition de la formation. Et enfin, le cinquième défi majeur qu'on peut retenir, c'est le contexte démocratique, social et sécuritaire. Dans nos pays, particulièrement, il y a une croissance démographique très forte. Le nombre élevé de jeunes entrant dans le système, on pose des grands défis en termes d'infrastructures, de formation et de budget. Donc, du coup, on peut, ça crée comme conséquence la pauvreté, l'illégalité d'accès. Pour beaucoup de jeunes, l'éloignement des centres de formation, le coût d'études, les moyens matériels insuffisants, la sécurité et l'instabilité dans certaines normales des établissements, l'accès des enseignants et des apprenants, ça cause énormément de problèmes. Et donc, ce sont des défis auxquels, pour résoudre le problème, pour revenir à votre question essentielle, l'implication de ces jeunes diplômés, parfois ne sont pas immédiatement employables. Ces jeunes diplômés, parfois, il faut les reconnaître, ne sont pas directement employables ou doivent poursuivre des formations complémentaires ou acceptent des emplois informels peu rémunérés. Donc, il y a une dévalorisation. Oui. Je peux continuer? Oui, voilà. Donc, il y a une dévalorisation des techniques. Je vous entends mal. Hein.
Thank you very much, and we'll come back. We'll come back to you. We'll come back. We're trying to manage our. I have to call back Elizabeth. Elizabeth, who is a certified Mason, and Elizabeth, the question has been that what has been some of the challenges, given that you are a female in a male-dominated TVET sector? What has been some of your challenges? Elizabeth, are you back online?
Oui, madame, je suis là.
Oui.
En tant que jeune bénéficiaire de l'EFTP en Côte d'Ivoire, les principaux défis auxquels nous faisons face sont les difficultés d'accès à l'information et aux opportunités, ce qui rend difficile le choix de parcours adaptés, de faible accompagnement en orientation scolaire et professionnelle. Le manque de financement et de soutien pour l'auto-emploi, ce qui limite nos chances d'employabilité. Et l'inadéquation entre la formation et le marché du travail.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you very much. So I hear you again, and it's basically some of the conversations that we've been having, that we have the challenge to access to information, which makes it difficult for you to choose what and where and the courses that you want to take. Again, you will need guidance, and that is where mentorship comes in, and also we're expecting that industry to support with that. Then, of course, the elephant in the room, which is financing. All right, I would like to go back to Dr. Magagi, which is Niger is one of the few African countries with a dedicated minister as you for TVET. How is Niger approaching financing challenge? And it looks as if financing has been the issue all over since we started.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Vous savez, le problème de financement, c'est le sixième processus dans le processus de l'FPT. Donc, le problème de financement se pose en termes de pourcentage de budget alloué par l'État. et en termes de participation des bailleurs de fonds. Mais le troisième acteur pour le financement, c'est les parents d'élèves. Si le revenu des parents d'élèves est faible, l'accès ou le coût de la formation, payer la formation à un enfant, ça pose problème. Donc, il y a trois acteurs qui interviennent dans la formation de l'FPT. Il y a l'État à travers le budget, il y a les bailleurs de fonds, les bailleurs de fonds qui participent, et puis il y a aussi les parents d'élèves. Donc, les trois acteurs qui financent l'FPT sont les parents d'élèves, l'État et les bailleurs de fonds. Il faut que ces trois acteurs puissent avoir une gouvernance partenariale pour qu'on puisse refonder, réfléchir sur la manière de financer l'FPT. Oui, allô? Oui. Donc, ça pose problème parce que, en fait, si le revenu des parents est faible, il est difficile aujourd'hui d'assurer, en tout cas, de prendre en charge les frais de formation. Donc, l'appel, pour financer l'FPT, il faut que l'État élève le budget alloué à l'FPT et avec la participation et puis développe des projets d'appui à la formation professionnelle. Malgré que dans nos pays, il y a une institution qu'on appelle le Fonds d'appui à la formation professionnelle et l'apprentissage de FAPCA qui reçoit la taxe d'apprentissage des entreprises et qui participe à la formation. Souvent, ces taxes-là en fait, ne viennent pas au moment où ils doivent élaborer pour agir. Donc là aussi, il y a une lenteur dans le décaissement de ces taxes. Donc il faut qu'on renforce ce financement-là avec d'autres créneaux que l'État doit chercher pour pouvoir relever le défi du financement de l'FPT.
Thank you. Thank you. So leveraging taxes, ensuring that the parents are also included. Now I want to go back to our youth who are on the call. So we've heard what Dr. Magigi had said about financing. And the question is that if all is said and done, we have the finances, we have the support from parents, we have the change from society. What will be the difference that you as entrepreneurs can make in TVET? And I will start with Emmanuel, then I will go to Rutiana, and then I would come to Elizabeth. So, Emmanuel.
Yes, thank you. I think if there is the right environment, the students from TVET can do much better. Like while I was starting this company or developing the vehicle pollution monitoring system or electric recycle, there were limited resources. But when there is modern innovation lab, startup fundings, and the strong mentorships, more young people will be able to build solutions faster and graduate ready to create employment, not just to search for it. And this reform would help Africa develop local solutions for different sectors and create employments. And when the TVET is connected to industry and the innovation ecosystem, every student can move from classroom to real world impact, and they become the problem solver, not the one who are looking for the employment only. And with the right environment, the TVET graduates across Africa can become job creators, entrepreneurs, and leaders for industrial revolution. And you know, currently most of the products we use in many African countries, we import it from China, from USA, but we really need to change that mindset where we have the capability to build the African solution here locally. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we are able to source locally, and that is an important point. So Ritiana, tell us, for the women, what changes would it be easier for young people to pursue and succeed in TVET when you have all the funding, you have all the right things in place?
For the women, I think we'll start on in relation to especially women that are in areas that are not accessible. If things especially for TVET, because I'm also coming from an area where there's less accessibility to education and skill sets as well. So for the women, this would help them, especially in terms of developing skills that would be used for them to become entrepreneurs, and also for them develop skills that would help them to become innovators. At the same time, being something that I've heard a term that says an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So the more busy women get, especially when it comes to skills development, the less we are going to have girls getting pregnant or early marriages, the less girls we see getting married at a really young age. And also the less idle, especially now that we have more young people on social media and having a lot of irrelevant content on social media. So the more busy we have, especially for females, the less we see females exposing themselves, especially sexually on social media. And with the right, with everything provided in relation to TVET, especially for the entrepreneurship development, a lot of women are coming from families where they are supposed to be the breadwinners and the providers. And so they develop TVET skills and use that for entrepreneurship purposes. It will help develop their families as well as the community as well, in terms of them contributing the skill sets to the community. Aside from, if an example would be, if a woman trains as an electrician, she is able to also donate her skill set to a local school that needs an electrician in that electrical installations. And so the more we have women participating, the more we also give back the skill sets in the community to develop the things that are needed for our community to be at a stage where it has to be.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. And yes, indeed, if we are able to solve the issue of TVET, it has a way of translating into other areas, especially for women. And you included sexual exploitation, that we are going to reduce sexual exploitation. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, are you still with us? And the question is that if all this is all what we are discussing today, we are able to give financing that is appropriate, we're able to get teachers, we're able to get you the spaces that you need, what will be the change that it will bring to your job as a Mason?
J'aimerais que l'FPT renforce les partenariats entre écoles et entreprises et que l'FPT offre des emplois aussi à des jeunes filles. En fonction de ça, elles peuvent se prendre en charge leur famille. Elles peuvent aussi s'occuper d'eux-mêmes au lieu de se promener, au lieu de se mettre dans la rue, comme la chef de la dit. L'FPT peut mettre en place une meilleure orientation scolaire et professionnelle dans le secondaire. L'FPT peut faciliter l'accès à l'information et aux opportunités à travers des plateformes digitales. L'FPT peut aider les jeunes filles d'aujourd'hui à développer aussi le pays. Je pense que c'est tout ce que j'ai à dire. Merci.
End of our conversation. Thank you so much. We have been discussing TVET, policy, the youth. Now, for us to conclude our conversation, I would like to go to our audience, and I'm expecting you to give me just one word or a phrase. What does TVET need the most to be truly respected and future ready?
Si vous le permettez, je voulais apporter quelques précisions.
For Africa. Sorry, so we'll start. Okay, so please say it and then you conclude it, and in a short, in just 1 minute.
D'accord. Maintenant, de quoi l'EFPT a besoin pour relever le défi? Il faut un engagement fort des acteurs d'abord nationaux afin de faire appel aux barres de fonds. C'est ce que j'appelle, il faut prévoir, il faut créer, sinon possible, il faut créer un fonds d'appui à l'FPT dont le financement sera assuré par l'État et les parents d'élèves, les entreprises et en plus les barres de fonds. Deuxièmement, il faut faire l'inclusion de l'FPT. Il faut aller vers l'inclusivité en mettant l'accent sur des bourses ciblées pour les jeunes filles et les jeunes ruraux, en assurant des internats dans les centres de formation. Cela permettra quand même d'assurer une formation parce que vous avez vu, quand on garantit l'accès des filles et des jeunes ruraux, ça promet non seulement l'équité et maximise le capital humain, et ça permet aussi d'autonomiser, de créer une sorte d'économie, en tout cas participative de ces jeunes filles-là dans leur zone d'intervention, dans leur village. Donc, je pense que ces deux points sont extrêmement importants. Tout cela sera appuyé quand on sera à mesure de développer des programmes d'appui à l'entrepreneuriat pour que ces jeunes puissent créer des micro-entreprises et puissent s'assurer et passer de l'emploi à l'auto-emploi et pour pouvoir engager d'autres jeunes. Et cela, en tout cas, va donner plus de tonus à l'FPT et cela permettra de relever le défi pour que l'FPT soit le véritable levier de développement économique et social de nos pays. Merci.
All right, thank you very much. And Elizabeth, what is that one word that you believe, in one word, what do you believe should be done to make TVET the pathway for the future? Elizabeth.
En un mot, je pense que investir dans les compétences des jeunes, c'est investir dans l'avenir de la Côte d'Ivoire et de l'Afrique.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. And now we go to Emmanuel, and after that, we go to Ritiana. So, Emmanuel, in one word or a phrase.
So in one, yeah, thank you. So in one word, I would say empowerment. Because when we empower TVET youth with the right tools, funding, and confidence, they can change Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now to Ritiana.
Madame, je peux compléter pour finir, hein, si vous le permettez, pour que l'FPT soit un réel levier majeur de transformation économique. Hein? Une minute. Vous le permettez? Alors, je disais, pour que je peux aller, non? Je vous le permettez. Je voulais dire, pour que l'FPT soit un levier majeur de transformation économique de l'Afrique, on doit combiner un certain nombre d'éléments. Le premier élément, il faut avoir un pilotage fort. Le deuxième élément, il faut avoir des référentiels de métiers actualisés. Le troisième élément, il faut créer un pont, j'allais dire un lien entre les écoles et les entreprises, c'est-à-dire passer de l'apprentissage et l'alternance. Et le troisième élément, assurer la formation des formateurs. Et enfin, le quatrième élément, le financement durable. J'insiste là-dessus, le financement durable et le suivi et évaluation. Et ces éléments sont vraiment les éléments clés pour pour que l'FPT soit réellement le levier majeur. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Ritiana, we would like to go quickly, just one word or a phrase. What can we do to leverage TVET?
What can we do to leverage TVET? I would say scale. Scale in relation to once the empowerment for TVET comes in and everyone is almost everyone is empowered, what do we do with the growing of these entrepreneurs that will be developed to be major enterprises, these innovations being made products, and this talent to also be shared, or maybe this economic investment of talent in other countries?
Thank you. All right. So thank you very much. It's been such an animated conversation. We've had an intergenerational dialogue on transforming TVET, the youth, policy and private sector. Thank you for the conversation. It's been about skills. It's been about the fact that we have to get the grassroots, we have to get the parents also, and then we also have to create the spaces to ensure that our younger generation are taking advantage of TVET. At this point, we are going to be having our video shortly, and this time we hope that it will play. And after that, I hand it over to Mona to give us the call to action, and then we shall close.
Each year, 10 to 12 million young Africans enter the workforce. The opportunity is huge if the skills match the jobs. Too many TVET systems are under-resourced and out of date. In Ghana, only 1.9% of the education budget went to TVET in 2022, far below a 20% benchmark. In Rwanda, 93% of students say they still train with obsolete equipment. In Uganda, 72% of teachers cite weak digital infrastructure. The result? Skills that don't translate into real jobs. When TVET aligns with industry, outcomes jump. In Rwanda, nearly 7 in 10 graduates secure work within a year. In Ghana, nearly 70% of TVET graduates are employed, many through stronger business linkages. So here's what works. 1. Finance what matters. Raise TVET funding towards 10 to 20% of education budgets. 2. Teach for the future. Bake digital and green skills into every program. 3. Include everyone. Remove barriers for women and vulnerable groups. We're talking scholarships, safe housing, accessible features, and inclusive pedagogy. 4. Follow the data. Build labor market information systems, do tracer studies, and update curriculum with real-time labor demand. Finally, let's value informal skills. Recognize apprenticeships through recognition of prior learning and create pathways to certification. Africa's youth are ready. Modernize TVET, match training to jobs, and transform potential into prosperity.
Fantastic. And the video has done the work for me in wrapping up because it outlines the key messages that we want our audience to leave with today. Let us finance what matters. Let us make sure TVET is inclusive. Let us ensure that we are following the data, tracer studies, labor market information systems, and above all, that private sector partnerships. I can't believe we've already exhausted 2 hours and some additional minutes. It's been such an exciting conversation. Listening to young people always inspires me. Emmanuel's story, Elizabeth's story, Retiana. Honestly, Africa's young people are ready. So to all our policymakers that are listening to us today, it's about time we ensure that our TVET systems are rising to the occasion. They're rising to the task to ensure that we are creating those opportunities for our young people. It's been my pleasure to host all of you today, and I want to thank the MasterCard Foundation for their partnership throughout the years and through the course of this study, our 6 country partners who have helped with the groundwork to help us collect data for this study. I want to thank our keynote speakers, the honorable ministers. Thank you, Mavis, for sticking with us through. Our distinguished panelists, thank you so much. And the technical team that is behind the scenes working endlessly to make sure that we're able to have this event. I can't thank you enough. And I'd like to remind all of us once again that the report is up live. Go in there, interact with the data. There's also a fact sheet that makes it easy for you to digest. Interact with the data. Let us know what you think. We're available on Instagram, on LinkedIn, YouTube. Find us everywhere. We're looking forward to your comments on the video, and we're looking forward to hosting you for our future intergenerational dialogues. And finally, thank you, Joyce, for co-moderating this session with me. I would like to say a good afternoon and good evening to everyone, depending on wherever you're joining us. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that brings us really to the end of Rethinking TVET for Africa's Economic Transformation. It's been a policy roundtable and also an intergenerational dialogue. And it was brought to you by the African Center for Economic Transformation. We have had a lot of conversations. And we want to say thank you again. If there is anything I want to leave you with, which is a comment someone left here, is that TVET is the future. And if we are going to take the benefit from TVET, we will need to include it in our basic learning and also ensure that everybody, including women, are getting the competencies that they need. Thank you. My name is Joyce Ahiadome, and thank you, Mona, for the opportunity to co-host this with you. And thank you once again. Bye-bye, and let's keep the conversation ongoing on social media and within the policy corridors as well. Bye-bye.